It's Luke here for SimBoxx, and we're here. We're on fight week. It seemed like an age that we've been waiting for Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight world titles. It's a historic fight, and I'm delighted to be joined by a heavyweight fighter in the Glasgow Warrior, Nick Campbell, to talk all about it. Nick, how are we doing?
Look, thanks for having me, mate. It's good to be back. Pleasure to be chatting again, as always.
Yeah, of course. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Nick. And I think you're very well placed to talk on this fight, given that you've sparred with Tyson Fury, and you're around Tyson. You know bits and bats about him. But we'll get straight into it. And I think there's only one place to start, and it's the media arrivals today, Nick. Big fight, and we know all the media work that comes along with that. And we've seen this engagement from John Fury and Team Usyk and Team Fury. It's all a bit sour and a bit. It's not very good scenes, is it, Nick? What did you make of all that? I'm sure you've come across that on social media.
Yeah, I actually just seen it about an hour ago. Listen, I think it's just a carnival in it. They like to. John certainly likes the limelight. He likes to be in the camera. He likes to be involved. Listen, he's passionate about his son, isn't he? So he's just maybe sometimes gets a little bit too excited. Finds it hard to control his emotions. But no, I think after it, they'll all be best friends. Do you know what I mean? They'll all shake hands and walk away. So I think it just adds to the spectacle, gets more eyes on it at the end of the day.
Of course, we won't give this too much airtime because the fighters deserve the majority of the attention. I think that's something I put out on Twitter as well. But just while we're on that subject, like I say, you've been in camp with Tyson Fury and you've been around him away from the cameras, and John Fury, I'm sure, has been there and thereabouts as well. Is this an act from the cameras? You see them when there's no cameras around? Is it pure passion? Is it playing up for the cameras and trying to sell the fight? What's your take on it from the inside, if you like?
Uh, I've not spent much time with John,
Right.
so Tyson definitely is a showman. And I'd say he's serious. It's fight week. He's serious. He's ready to fight, but yeah, he is the ultimate showman. Do you know what I mean? And he knows what it takes to build a fight. So I would take most of the stuff with a pinch of salt from Tyson. But he is serious and he has to do a job at the end of the day. That if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
With John, from my understanding, as he gets pretty revved up as soon as the cameras are around, and I don't think well, you can see he's not joking. He's quite serious. So, aye, um, not to be not to be taken lightly. I don't think Big John when he gets in the moment, and like I say, you can see that in what just happened. But listen, it is what it is, innit? Like I said, I don't think it deserves too much airtime because it's about the undisputed fight. It's about boxing at the end of the day. It's not about what happens, is what it is. It's just part of the sport. But I think we should really focus on what's going to happen in the ring on Saturday.
Absolutely. And on Saturday, the first time in the four belt era, we're going to crown, barring a draw, of course, we're going to crown a four belt undisputed heavyweight world champion. Now, first, I want to touch on Tyson Fury and go into a bit of where we think Tyson is coming into this fight. We've seen the picture on social media. He looks in good shape. But I think it's fair to say as well, Nick, that for the first time since his comeback, certainly from his layoff, that he's faced some public adversity in terms of questioning whether he wants to fight with Usyk. The cut that postponed the fight back in February. Do you think this will bring out the best in Tyson? The fight with Francis Ngannou, people are looking into that and saying maybe he's a faded force. On his day, he's one of the very best on the planet. But do you think that's going to bring out the best in Tyson? That he's got these critics now after riding at the crest of the public love for so long?
Listen, look back to what happened. It's all a while, and he fought one up when he got the really bad cut in 12 rounds, tough fight. What happened after that? He went on and smashed Wilder.
Yeah.
So I think for Tyson, he's a very emotional guy, very, live in the moment. And I think the occasion, you can see the shape he's in. He knows how hard a fight it's going to be, and he knows how good Usyk is. And I think that for those reasons, he's going to turn up and put on a show on fight night. That said, Usyk's unbelievable. He's a hell of a fighter, and I think the shape that Tyson's coming in and how seriously he's taking his training demonstrates that he understands this is probably the biggest challenge of his professional career. And listen, it's for everything. It's for the spoils. The winner goes the spoils in it. Like whoever wins this is going to be the first undisputed four belt champion. So everything is at stake. And I think, given the history, given what Tyson can do when he's under pressure, I think he understands that he's going to come in and he's going to perform. That's the way I look at it. I know the Otto Wallen fight was however many years ago, but you know what I'm trying to say, don't you? You look at when he steps up in opposition, he steps up his game. So yeah.
Absolutely. So in terms of both fighters, really, I think one of the interesting things, Nick, is that it's a fight of huge magnitude, given the historical significance that the fight is going to have. But at the same time, each guy are coming in with question marks hanging over him, given the last performances. We mentioned there Fury and Ngannou, but let's not forget Usyk. Although he was dominant in the end against Dubois, there's that controversy surrounding the fifth round and the body shot. Was it low? Was it not? And now we're all asking ourselves: is Usyk weak to the body? So as much as it's the best fight in the best, and it's a great fight. It's a historic event. There's question marks over both guys coming into this, which I think for a fight of this magnitude is an interesting angle to look at it.
See, Zach, sorry. See, mate. Sorry, on you go.
Yeah, so I was just saying, with both guys having these question marks given the last two performances, that even though both men were victorious, there's also slight doubts there, even as if like both guys might be on the decline, that they're not at the best.
Yeah, I think listen, I think everybody's got these questions about Usyk weak to the body, but the guys he's fought against, they've only got a couple of body shots off against them, and they're world class fighters. Daniel Dubois is up in the world, he's up in that world level. Anthony Josh is a former world champion, world class fighter, and they briefly posed him a couple of questions when it come to body shots. So that shows you how good he is, that he's able to negate people trying to do these things to him, get inside, work his body. He's never been that troubled.
Mm.
The shot with Dubois, was it low? I don't know. It's up to the referee to make that call. Was it borderline? It was on the belt line. It depends. I don't know. I wasn't in the meeting before. I don't know whether the ref said shots good here, shots below here, not good, shots on the belt line. It all depends what was said in the meeting before the fight. Who knows? But listen, I think Tyson is the best fighter that's Usyk's faced. Usyk's the best fighter that Tyson's faced. And I think it will bring the best out in both of them. I think all these questions about is he weak to the body, is Tyson over the hill, is this, is that, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to be answered after these two guys meet. So that's why it's such an intriguing fight. They've beat everybody. Usyk's beat everybody that's put in front of him. Tyson's beat everybody that's put in front of him. Now it's, the two best guys in the division going toe to toe, and that's why it's so interesting.
Absolutely, Nick. Now, if you was to put yourself in Usyk's shoes, and you look, like you say, he's cleaned up at cruiserweight. Tyson Fury's won everything there is to win at heavyweight. And you see some predictions or pundits or whatnot or boxing fans, they simplify this as a good big un will always be a good little un. From Usyk's point of view, do you see that as well? Do you think that he's being written off as too small, just simply that Fury does everything he does and he's that much bigger and heavier?
Kind of go along with that. That I'm of that mindset myself. I just think Tyson's too big and too good. I think Usyk's a world class fighter. Definitely up there on the pound for pound, but size does matter. As much as everybody keeps, it's a bit of a cliche, and a good big and beats a good small one and all that. And listen, Usyk's been in with Joshua, 6'6" specimen. So there's all sorts of different questions, but I do think that for Usyk to have any success, he needs to get, he can't box at range against Tyson because he's given away every advantage he's got. He's got to get in and he's got to get close. And to do that is a big ask. And when he gets in and gets in close, Tyson's very, very strong in the clinch. He knows how to use his attributes. He knows how to use his size and his weight, and he'll wear him out. I don't think you can read into the Ngannou fight. Ngannou's an MMA fighter. Clinching with a guy who does MMA is completely different from clinching with a guy who's a boxer. Having said that, that's not to say Usyk's not going to come with his own game plan that he's going to try and execute, but I just think it's Tyson's fight to lose. I think he's got all the natural advantages over him in a heavyweight contest, and I think that over the course of the fight, that's gonna show, especially later in the fight when Tyson's clinching, he's holding, his body work, using his weight, using his attributes is going to pay dividends for him.
Now, obviously, the fight's won, lost, or drawn in the ring on Saturday night. But you can see in boxing that fight week brings out a different edge to fighters. And in Tyson Fury, we've got the ultimate showman. As you said earlier, he loves the cameras, he loves the theatrics that come along with it. But Usyk seems somewhat impregnable to the mind game. So over the next 5-6 days before fight night, when they come together at face-offs and the press conference and the weigh-in, do you think either guy will be trying to one up the other with the mind games? And if so, who do you favour in that aspect, Nick?
Dead heat. I don't think either guy could really be phased. I don't think anything Tyson says bothers Usyk. He's just, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And then having said that, I don't think anything Usyk does or reacts to bothers Tyson. So it's kind of a stalemate, to be honest with you. I think it's just going to be a spectacle. People are going to read into whatever happens in the build-up, face-offs, this guy getting angry, that guy getting angry. But listen, I don't really think anything too much into that. They're both very strong characters. Tyson's will, it takes some beating. Usyk's will, from what I've seen, take some beating. So I think it's a bit of a stalemate, to be honest. And I think nobody's going to read too much into it. I don't think either of them really care, to be honest with you, what either one does. And I think it's just going to be, an interesting build-up, an interesting fight week. But it's all going to come down to when the both men step through the ropes. That's when it's going to count. I don't really read too much into anything that happens through the week.
Absolutely. I think, I'm on that same train of thought as you, is that it ultimately all boils down to nothing. The only reason why I kind of brought it up was as we see with Tyson Fury, he's the master of the mind games, and he destroyed Klitschko before the fight. He befuddled him with his brashness and his confidence. And then we've seen, of course, with Deontay Wilder, himself a showman, and he was befuddled with Tyson at these press conferences and the face-offs and whatnot. So Tyson, he's as much as you say that like he won't be phased by Usyk, but he also knows that he can certainly put a seed of doubt in his opponent's mind. Maybe Usyk isn't as mentally weak as maybe no disrespect as a Wilder or a Klitschko that he's seen Fury do this to other fighters, but I think it's as you say, it all builds for something that's going to be fascinating before the fight.
I think what makes both of these guys special is their self-belief. It's not what anybody else thinks. It's what they believe in themselves, and both of them genuinely believe that they're the best fighter on the planet. Both of them feel that they can win this fight. So when you've got that belief that you're going to win, and there's nothing, no outside factor can get inside your head, mess with you. It just makes for a big night, I feel. And I don't really. Listen, he might get a little bit annoyed. Usyk doesn't react to anything he does, but ultimately he still believes he's going to win the fight. And when I say believes, genuinely believes that that's going to happen, as does Usyk, which is why I don't really think the build-up is going to matter that much.
So Nick, you've kind of alluded to it already, but I've got to push you for a prediction. Saturday night, the four belts all on the line. History will be made. Give us your breakdown and ultimately your prediction for Saturday night: Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk.
Listen, I think Tyson will win, and I think it could possibly be a late stoppage. I just think the size, weight, Tyson using all these advantages, it's going to be a long night for Usyk. And having said that, he's an incredible boxer. I'm sure he's going to come in with his own game plan. But I just think as the fight goes on, as Tyson wears him down in the clinch, puts his weight on him, boxes at range, makes him work, I think Tyson will snatch a late stoppage.
Interesting. And in terms of this immediate rematch clause, do you think that's something we'll see further down the line? Do you think that it all comes down to how the fight ends on Saturday? Do you think a certain Mr. Anti-Joshua could jump the queue and build an even bigger fight if he used to fight Tyson Fury or Oleksandr Usyk uh, after Saturday night?
I think it all comes down to the how it goes.
Yeah,
If it's a completely dominant performance by either man, I don't think there will be a need for a rematch, really. And I don't think Turkey Al Sheikh will fancy a rematch if it is a really one-sided affair. If Tyson comes out and smashes him, I can't really see the public really wanting to see a rematch. And I think the best thing about the Saudis in boxing is they're for the fans and they want the big fights to happen. So if Tyson goes out and smashes Usyk, does a real convincing job on him, I can't see there being a big push for a rematch, which probably opens up the door to Joshua Fury at the end of the year. But if it's a close fight, if it's, a point split decision, then yeah, it's probably going to have to be a rematch because both men will probably have their own case for there to be a rematch then. Knowing Tyson, I know that he'll want to go out and he'll want to do his convincing job, steamroll him, batter him. I think that's his kind of mindset. Is just to go out and do the complete number on him, not leave any questions. And listen, like I said, what happened when he fought Wallen? He went out the next fight and destroyed Wilder. And I think that last fight against Ngannou will be bugging him because he won't appreciate that people are, questioning, is he still got it? Is he this? Is he that? So I'm expecting to see a big performance for Tyson on Saturday night. Hopefully a convincing one. Listen, I like Usyk. I think he's a hell of a fighter, but always back Tyson. Great fighter, great guy, and I hope he goes out and does the job. And like I say, it opens up the door to these other big fights. So yeah, potentially if Tyson goes out, does a real convincing job, I don't see there being any need for a rematch. I don't think Turkey Al Sheikh will want it to be a rematch. And then we probably get to see Joshua Fury.
absolutely. And as boxing fans, British boxing fans, certainly that's what we've been clamoring for a number of years now. But Nick, just touching on a man you mentioned there, Turkey Al Sheikh, he's uh, funding this whole Riyadh season, Saudi adventure that boxing has taken over this last 12 months or so. Delivered massively at Christmas with the Wilder Joshua doubleheader, and then uh, Joshua Ngannou, Fury Ngannou. Now he's promoting a show in Los Angeles with Madrimov against Crawford, and he seems to be putting fights that are, it's almost like when we used to play Fight Night on the PlayStation as kids. That these fantasy fights are becoming reality. It's can only be a good thing for boxing, surely.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good thing for the elite level fighters, the guys who really need to be fighting one another. It's great for the fans. It is cutthroat as well,
Yep,
because obviously it's winner stays on.
yep,
And they are all 50-50 fights. There has to be well, there doesn't always have to be a loser, there can be a draw, but aye, most of these fights there needs to be somebody that loses, and there's no, dishonour in losing in a hard 50-50 fight, the best versus the best. So that's great for the fans. And the only other positive thing, which is a positive for the fighters, is they're getting well, compensated for taking the risk. They're all getting well paid for the fights. So yeah, it's a massive fan. A massive fan. It's a massive thing for the fight fans. It's a positive thing for the boxers because they're getting well paid for taking these tough 50-50 fights. So yeah, in the long run, at that elite level, where all the marbles are on the line, the belts, it's a great thing for boxing.
absolutely. And coming up after May 18th will be June 1st. It was meant to be Dimitri Bivol against Artur Beterbiev. That's postponed, but on the undercard of that is the Matchroom v Queensbury 5v5, which again is out of the realms of fantasy. A couple of fights that I want to talk to you about, Nick, on there is firstly Deontay Wilder. He makes his comeback against Zhilei Zhang. Surely it can only be fireworks. Interesting that both these guys are coming into this fight after defeats to your good friend Joe Parker. I think if you used to rewind the clock 12 or 18 months and we used to say, in the middle of 2024, we'd sit talking about Joe Parker having beat Zhang and Wilder within a 3 or 4 month stretch, you'd be looked at as crazy, but he's gone in there and he's done it, revitalized under Andy Lee. But before we touch on Joe, just a word on Wilder versus Zhang. Again, it's such a fan-friendly fight on paper that can surely only deliver fireworks on fight night.
Yeah, I think like you say, question marks over both men. Both men been defeated in the last fight by Joe. Zhang is pretty, big, strong, physical man. He's got a lot of explosive power. Different from Wilder, different kind of power, but probably equally as devastating. Obviously Wilder, well beaten his last fight, looked a bit out of sorts, didn't really throw his right hand much, never got a chance to throw it. So yeah, it's a kind of whoever loses that, I would say, is done. To be in my opinion, because they're both a bit older, both probably not got really anywhere to go after that. So it's a massive fight for both men. For me, I think Wilder could knock him out. I think he's a bit of a sitting target, and for a guy as quick and as explosive, I can't speak tonight, as
Yeah.
quick and explosive as Wilder, I think, yeah, it's gonna be a hard night for Zhang, especially with how quick his gas tank goes. He's got 2 or 3 rounds, and then he's literally running on fumes after that. So if I was going to be going and sticking any money on it, it would be on a Wilder stoppage.
Given that, as I say, you quite close with Joe Parker, do you think you'd go along with that prediction as well? Like, have you spoke to him about both guys?
I spoke to him about both guys. He told me, he says, listen, they can both punch, they can both really, really, they're both got devastating power.
Yeah.
He actually said that he caught a right hand in his left glove from Wilder, and he was like, Jesus, if I switch off for a second in this fight, I'm going to sleep. He said, I never felt power like it. So I just think for the two of the, listen, styles make fights. You can't read too much into neither guy fights like Joe, so I wouldn't read too much into either of the last fights. But what I would say is I don't think Zhang's got the head movement to avoid Wilder's right hand for 10 rounds or 12 rounds, whatever it's over. So for that reason, I think that Wilder's probably going to get that power off on him at one point, and when he does, I think that'll be it.
Yeah, we look forward to that fight, Nick. And also on the card, Filip Hrgovic against Daniel Dubois. I think with this fight, you say that Wilder and Zhang might be in the last chance saloon, but with Hrgovic and Dubois, both careers are on the upward trajectory. Hrgovic, there or thereabouts, I think he might even be IBF mandatory. And Daniel Dubois coming off the Jarrell Miller victory puts himself right back in the mix. And you could certainly say this is a fight that either man could have avoided if they wanted to. They could have took on an easier contest, but as we said earlier, with Turkey Al-Sheikh putting up the money, these guys are willing to take the risk. Great fight, and one that has huge relevance to the heavyweight division moving forward.
Yeah, I've actually been sparring Daniel in the build up to this fight, so I think it's a great fight. On paper, a 50-50. Both men have came off the back of a win. Daniels is probably more substantial. I don't know the right word for it. A substantial one against Miller. He had a few rights to wrong, few doubters to prove wrong. He got through the challenge with a pretty, convincing stoppage in the end against a big, strong, physical man who came to fight. So, yeah, he's working with Don Charles now. They're definitely building a game plan for what Hrgovic brings. So, listen, it's a great fight. Um, Obviously, I'm helping Daniel, so I'm going to back Dan. And listen, he's British, so always back the British fighter. I'm going to back Daniel to go and get the job done. Hope he gets the job done. And listen, it potentially opens up a massive fight for whoever wins potentially
Yeah,
down the line. So yeah, he's the IBF mandatory. So I think if the Usyk Fury do have the rematch, then Joshua could maybe be looking to fight the winner of this fight. Who knows? So be very interesting to see how that plays out. And it's
Yeah,
obviously a massive fight for either man because Anthony Joshua's the star attraction still in the heavyweight division outside Usyk and Joshua. So yeah, big fight for both men. Big reward at the other side of it. But I'm going to back the Brit. I'm going to go with Daniel.
absolutely. And there's a lot of hoops to jump through, Nick. But just talking about it to you here, it's only just popped in my head now. Imagine we get to the back end of 2024 and the way this money is being paid to these fighters, that the fights are getting made rapidly. You could look at a double header where it's FuryUsyk 2 and Joshua Dubois on the undercard for the IBF title. You know, these are the kind of cards that are getting put together. It's no longer in the realms of pure fantasy. It, obviously, like I
Yeah,
said, there's hoops to be jumped before then, but it's a realistic possibility.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, never say never. I think if the Saudi thing's taught us anything, it's that anything is genuinely possible now. So you can never look too far ahead or say, "Oh no, you're being ridiculous coming away with that." Do you know what I mean? It's completely plausible now. So who knows? Like you say, there's a lot of different permutations in the way things may go, how fights go. So who knows? But massive potential for the rest of the year at the top of the division.
Absolutely. Now, Nick, we could sit here all evening talking about boxing, in particular heavyweight boxing, but I won't keep you for too much longer. Just to close out, I want to get a word on yourself. It's been quite a frustrating time, I think it's fair to say. Although you've been in the gym sparring with the likes of Daniel Dubois, working with Andy Lee, which must be a pleasure each and every day, learning from a great trainer, a great boxing man in Andy Lee. But you've had a few fights that have fallen through, and it's been a little while since you've been out in the ring. So, yeah, take us through it in your words, Nick. Where are we all up to with everything?
Yeah, listen, obviously I had two pullouts, then had a little bit of an issue with my own stuff, which I finally got ironed out and hopefully should have my license renewed this week, I'm hoping. So yeah, I'm planning to fight again end of June. Um, Fingers crossed, everything, God bless, God willing, that I can get it all sorted. So listen, it's been a challenging time, but you've got to try and look at the positives. I've had a lot of great experiences in the last year, like you touched on, training with Andy, sparring Joe, sparring Tyson, Martin Bacoli, Agate Campbell, Daniel Dubois. I've had a lot of great opportunities. Got to do a lot of traveling, see a lot of different places as well, which is a bonus as part of the sport. But yeah, it has been very frustrating not to have that end result. So hopefully, like I said, God willing and God bless that I can get everything in my end ironed out and I can have this fight on June the 23rd in Birmingham, Premier Suites, Scott Murray's promotion. Yeah, so that's the plan. That's the plan. Get on there, get back into the swing of things, and do the business.
Yeah, well, as you're saying that, fingers crossed. You've always come across with a positive outlook on things, and you've used the time away from the ring as positively as anybody I've seen, as you say, with the people there that you've been sparring. So we look forward to the return of the Glasgow Warrior. We look forward to Saturday night with the undisputed world heavyweight title fight, Tyson Fury against Oleksandr Usyk. Nick, as always, man, it's a pleasure. You're one of my favourite people to have on SimBoxx. I appreciate your time each and every time you jump on. So thanks for that.
No, listen, man. Like I say, I really appreciate you having me on, listening to me talk rubbish. Most of my predictions normally don't come out, but I hope this week they do. I really like Tyson. He's a great guy, great fighter. In my opinion, the best in the generation. So I'd love to see him get the job done. And like I say, open up some great fights for the second half of the year. I'm a fight fan just like yourself, as well as a boxer. So I love this. I love the game. I love talking about it. And yeah, I hope everybody enjoys fights at the weekend. God bless. And hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate.